What's happening, Shredder Nation? Welcome to episode number 95 of Living the Shredder Life. I'm your host, Jesse James Jamnik, ER Shred Health and Nutrition Coach. And I am joined this week by someone who has a pretty epic story, Mr. Dexter Jenson. Dexter, welcome to Living the Shredder Life. This is the second time now, right?
Yes, second time.
Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah. And we are celebrating tonight your 1 year. We decided to call it Shreddiversary, right? So I'm excited that you're here. I appreciate you, bro. For those of you guys that aren't aware, every week, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, Tuesday night, I go live with another guest, trying to dive deeper into what the lifestyle aspect is of the ER Shred, the long term. We share epic stories, transformations, hopefully to relate to you in some way, shape, or form. Or we're sharing some science, some research, some different things around nutrition. And the goal is that hopefully something, sometime, some week relates to you and just sparks that interest that just helps you move that needle in life one step forward. And Dexter, let's just knock people out within the first 2 minutes here. You just celebrated your 1 year anniversary on October 1st. You started that last year. And what have the results been so far for you over that last year?
Yeah, so I started right about 305 pounds. 12 months in, we are down to that 235. And some days, we flutter a little bit, but that's all right.
Yeah.
The first 5 months was probably the biggest weight loss. That was about 50 or so pounds in the first 5 months. And then after that, it's slowly, just gradually taken off, 4 or 5 pounds at a month, which is great. It's nice and slow. It's gradual because it's a lifestyle. This isn't just a get in and get out type program.
For sure. Now, before you did ER Shred, have you tried other ways of losing weight and getting healthy, whatever we want to categorize it, call it as?
I think everyone has. You see ads or this or that, this miracle pill that's a thermal booster, and you do this and you'll shred 15 pounds overnight. Yeah, I think we've all tried that stuff. There was nothing out there that seemed sustainable. That was something that I could grasp onto that I enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
So much of that stuff is you hate it.
Mm-hmm.
And like this one really good friend of mine that I talk to every so often told me this deal and goes, hey, you die on a diet and you'll live on a lifestyle. You know him?
Maybe.
Cool dude. I should link you guys up. So a year later, yes, I still very much believe in that. That's awesome. A thing.
Yeah. It's so true. I mean, it's so true. You've done this, and I know, you and I have chatted quite a bit and we've shared some different things. And, what I find crazy was, share with people, you've lost over, about 70 pounds, right? You've gone from what it was a 2XL, 3XL down to an extra large, shirt now. Your pants went from 42 down to 36, and you're still a work in progress. But I mean, that is radical, life-changing results. No, I mean, is that fair to say?
Yeah, it is. I mean, every aspect of this journey, things have just gotten easier. Getting up in the morning is easier. My body just feels better. You don't have the aches and pains. You're not just exhausted with life. You don't come home at the end of a long day and go, oh, gosh, I just really want to sit on the couch and eat an entire bag of chips because I already feel like crap. Might as well just eat like crap. It just doesn't happen anymore. I mean, I get home and I'm excited to bust out a really nice Wagyu steak and a big old stick of butter and some Himalayan sea salt.
For sure.
That's what excites me. Like when it's steak night, I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah. Steak night's almost every night for me, and I'm always excited.
Yeah. I mean, and there's obviously some nights, we talked about this being a lifestyle. There's some nights where I have to do some other things because it's not just me in this house.
For sure.
But, my family overall is pretty much adapted to it. And, my wife will make a meal that, is another form of good protein, whether that's some chicken or some fish. We will eat like some wild rice.
Dexter, We're having some technical difficulties, so please bear with us for 1 second. We're trying to figure it out, so we'll crack it. There you go. There you go. Now your voice is off again. You're yeah, go ahead, take your time. So and I just want to categorize for people while we're waiting for Dexter to come back on, that when we say, in ER Shredland, we say it's steak and shake, right? Or shake and steak. And when we say steak, what we're referring to is high quality protein sources. So within that steak parameter is obviously Wagyu beef, is obviously grass fed, amazing quality red meat. We're also talking about chicken. We're also talking about heritage farm pork. We're talking about pasture raised eggs. I'm explaining to everybody in the category of steak, when we say it's shake and steak, which is what we kind of refer to as ER Shred. It's not that I'm just, tearing apart a ribeye every single night. It's a variety of things, like you were just sharing. Your wife's making amazing dinners, and it's using the foundational pieces of high quality protein every single day is just non-negotiable. It's one of our foundational pillars in ER Shred, and I was just explaining to people as you came back, what that meant when we talked about steak.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, every time I get a phone call, I get temporarily.
Yeah. It's all good. I will improvise for you, bro. I am here to improvise for you. So
I appreciate it.
We're all good.
So getting back on that, that's probably been the funnest part about this deal. We were talking earlier about, trusting your body and figuring out what foods just work for you. I don't have to read a label anymore to know what food works for me.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be different. There's not necessarily a 100% tried and true blueprint. There's certain people who can knock down some vegetables, and that's great. And there's other people that you're going to feel that tomorrow.
For sure.
So for me, there's been things that, when Sean Escobar talks about indulging and you want to go to a barbecue and, and have some hot dogs or some hamburgers with a bun or whatever it is, you go to a birthday party and you want to have some ice cream and cake with your 3-year-old, you're going to do that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You still want to live.
Yeah.
But you're going to feel that tomorrow. And that's a price I'm willing to pay for my daughter to see the smile on her face. But knowing that I can't just open up the freezer every single night and have a bowl of ice cream. Like, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
But once a month, once every other couple months, I'm willing to do that.
For sure. Do you feel that that's been one of the biggest differences? So I know you've shared with me before, in the very beginning, you had a chit chat with my brother from another mother, Captain Caveman, right? Sean Escobar.
Yes, sir.
And one of your biggest concerns is like, dude, how does this work long-term? What about lifestyle? How do I still enjoy life? Because I think people get confused about this, right? There's so much information. There's so many things. There's so many diets. There's so many literature papers. I mean, it's like, holy crap. Like, how do I actually make this make sense, right? And we talked briefly about diets and pills and potions and celery juice and juicing diets and all this crazy stuff. And it's like, yeah, you might see some quick results, but it's not going to be long-term,
No.
And you talked about this genius guy, sharing with you, when we diet, we die. And when we do lifestyle, we live. Do you think that was one of the big pieces that really makes this so sustainable? Because I mean, look, we have not just like you or Kathy or a couple people. I mean, we're talking thousands of people now over the last couple of years, Dexter, that have not only been able to lose weight, been able to kind of get control, but I mean, the most important thing that I think what I'm most proud of is that we have so many people that have been here for the long term. And I've just never seen that in all my 20 years of being involved in this industry. Going through all the stuff myself and then coaching people, I've never experienced that before. And it's just awesome.
I look at it this way, that we both have to be honest and say there are people who have tried ER Shred and just weren't honest with themselves to give it a good chance, right? Sure. I know several that did. And they kind of just were like, well, I want what you have. And you've been doing this 2 weeks, sweetheart.
Yeah.
You got to give it a little bit longer than that.
Yeah.
And then they go to the next miracle thing and they're selling chocolate powder, or, they're counting points. And I wasn't very good at math, so counting points is out of the question for me.
Yeah.
But anybody who gave themselves an honest shot, and another guy that I really look up to, and I don't think gets a lot of credit, is Tim Scott. He's right here in my hometown. Him and I actually started on the exact same day. That dude's an animal, man.
Yeah.
Like, that guy is so selfless for everything that he does with his family, his kids, his church, his community. And that dude is knocked off over 100 pounds.
Unbelievable.
He blows my mind, because I'm a very competitive person.
Yeah.
And I'm going, when him and I started, I was like, I'll lose more weight than Tim. I got this. And that dude, he's able to do it. He's a solid 30 pounds ahead of me, and he hit that 100-pound mark. And I'm just like, good for you, bro.
Yeah.
But he's one of those people that got it and stuck with it and figured out that this is sustainable. And you can still live a pretty awesome life if you just stick to the foundation and the core of this protocol. It doesn't suck.
Yeah.
You just have to be willing to make that choice.
Yeah. Do you think that's one of the biggest things that separates this from say anything else out there?
Yeah. So I think personally there's no strings attached to this program.
Mm-hmm.
None. Can you cheat and go buy protein powder at Walmart? Can you go buy your bone broth wherever? I mean, sure. No one's saying you can't.
Yeah.
And you probably would do okay. Like, realistically, long term, I'm going to say yes. But you look at other programs, and it's about the money for them. It's 100% about, you need a subscription. You need to come in and you need to get weighed every day or once a week. You need to buy our products. You need to buy our pills. And then you're sucked in so heavily financially. One or two things gives. You just keep paying the subscription because you're too lazy to cancel it. And then if you cancel it, you feel like you quit. Or you finally get to the point where, financially, I can't sustain this any longer. So then that's your tapping out point. And you'll just quit there because you could, let's say, financially afford it, and you're going to give up on your health because of that. But you're still spending the money on then crap food. So I really do feel like if you would some people would try a little bit harder to make that connection to saying, hey, I can do this. I just need to be a little bit more maybe budget conscious and mind conscious, saying, I don't have to pay the subscription fee to this weight loss program to still make a go at this. I can do this on my own. And that's what ER Shred is. You do it on your own.
Yeah.
It's 100% self accountability. And if you're willing to do that, it can work.
Yeah. So you have, there's actually 3 big points that I grasped, and I'm making a mental note so I don't forget any of them. But so the last thing that you just talked about was the subscription, the culture, the group, the support, what these other programs tend to say they're giving. But when you really get involved in it, you realize that it's really about the dollar, right? It's really about the dollar. It's a business. Yeah. It's about the dollar. And, do we have ways for people to monetize and grow business and be able to make some side hustle? 100% we do, for sure. You know what I mean? I will tell you though, from the board perspective, the amount of time and energy and commitment we've put into this, and for what's come, we don't get paid for that. You know what I mean? It's not there. And I think one of the big things is because I talk to Susan about this all the time and Sean about this all the time. It's just a passion. It's a calling inside because we've actually all been through the process ourselves, right? It's cool. The most crazy epic things that happen in this industry, I realize, are from people that have been on their own journey. And then they get to the other side and they're like, this is just way too good not to share with other people. And if you can take that and turn it into something, is that your daughter looking for you? If you can take that and turn it into something beneficial for you and your family, but you're doing it from the right place, it's a whole different ball game in my mind, right?
Yep.
And with ER Shred, we don't charge you for the community. We don't charge you to be a part of Shredder Nation. It's free for everybody.
Yep. And that's the coolest part. It really is. I mean, I feel kind of guilty, truthfully. I mean, I'm going, cool. I bought some t-shirts and stuff and I wear them, but what else do you do for you guys? I mean, there should be like
I promise you, there's
a GoFundMe link.
Yeah, the amount that we're getting those t-shirts for and what they're going, there's nothing in there.
That's what I mean. I feel bad.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So the community aspect is definitely a huge thing for all the reasons that Dexter talked about, the difference in the groups. I wanted to touch on that. The other thing that you brought up is about, when you do these other programs, it's like, you have to buy our food. You have to do this. You have to do that. Now, full transparency, we do partner with our nutrition company, Isagenix. And there's a reason that we do that, right? And for me, I'll tell you, the reason that I haven't stared anywhere else for my foundational basics over the last 7 years is because of the tried and tested quality, the third-party certification, the putting your money where your mouth is with studies and not getting first right of refusal. So for me, it's not about like, can you go and get a different protein shake? 100%. Will I still let you, coach you and teach you? 100%. But I want the most bang for my buck, Dexter. That's what I want. Agree. And we're talking about money and, it's a tough time for a lot of people right now. I mean, it's hard for people, and I can appreciate the notion that we think eating healthy is this massive expenditure. And I guess if you're doing it in an uncontrolled way, I can see where that can be an issue, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing it in a way where you're doing it like me, where you're an endurance athlete and like the fuel that I choose to eat every day, which is so much, is like just as important as putting the right gas in a NASCAR engine. You can't just put regular gas. You know what I mean? It's not going to work. So I can see that, but like it's really not that way when you look at the comparison of like how much do we spend on crap and health versus the other thing. It's not there. So we do partner with the company. I want to address that. We don't force it on you, but I would highly recommend it. Not saying that that's going to be the end all be all, but for those reasons, it just makes sense. Would you agree with that?
I 100% agree. I mean, I am a big believer in the Isagenix products as far as the stuff that I personally use.
Yep.
Okay. So the Isoline Pro shakes that we use on this, I truly do feel the best on them. I had taken a vacation and left my packets at home. It happened. So just had to stop at a CVS, grab some of the best whey protein I could for this 3-day thing I was on.
Yep.
It got me by, but I noticed I wasn't as full during the day after taking one. There's some differences for sure.
Yeah.
But can it work? I'm not, sure. But it's not the same.
Yeah.
For sure. So
I think it's important, bro, not to cut you off, but that we talk about this because this is the flexibility piece that I believe is missing from so many other places,
Agreed.
And you brought something else up that's really important. I want everybody to know, I talk about Dexter losing 70 pounds and going down all these pant sizes. And he brought up Tim Scott, who I've also interviewed on this call before. And I got to do a follow-up with him as well, because he wasn't anywhere near what he is now compared to when we talked last time. So I'm curious to see what else he's learned and what else in life has changed and all of that. I know he's such an amazing guy. But I want you guys to realize that the magic sauce, ready? If you got a notebook ready, here's the magic pill. I'm going to give it to you. All my 20 years of being in this industry, here's the magic pill. If you're not willing to be consistent and just take the little baby steps every single day, and not give up when things get a little bit tough or a little bit challenging, and realize that you can do hard freaking things, the life goal that you might be seeking is going to elude you every single time. And I hope that message comes across in ER Shredland, that it's like, yeah, you can do an 11-day and get great results, but that's not the end all be all. That's just putting your choo-choo train back on the tracks. Like I always talk about, like we need to get you back on the right path first so you can have these realizations, right? Like if you didn't do that first 11-day and you didn't keep going, you wouldn't have been smacked in the face and realized like, wow, this is really how powerful food really is. And it's not about that you can't have things or not have things. It's just that we got to give the body a fighting chance. And you got to be willing to put in that time like you talked about. I mean, would you say, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make is thinking that it's like an either all or nothing. Would you say the same or?
Yep. People they want the convenience. They want the convenience with their food, that they want the convenience with their diet. They think that they put on 100 pounds overnight. Right. I put on 100 pounds over the course of 10 years.
Wow. So a
10
decade.
plus years.
A decade.
Yeah. So I'm not going to lose that in 2 weeks.
Right.
Now, in 2 weeks, should I notice some sort of difference? Yeah. The first time I did this, I lost 14 pounds that first 2 weeks. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
But that was the quote unquote drug, the addiction for me that got me hooked on this. Like that was the aha moment that like, hey, I really might be onto something here. Like this could work for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
it's like pulling. I mean, we need it, right? It's like you got to create the momentum from something. Like we're stagnant. Like most people are coming in, they're like, I don't know. Like I did this, nothing worked, nothing this. Like they're confused, right? They don't even know what food served them. They're all over the place, and rightfully so, Dexter. I mean, rightfully so. Like unless you're immersed in this every day, like me, where this is like your life all day, every day. Why would you have any understanding? I mean, it's confusing being in this industry, knowing what you're talking about. It's still confusing. So I get that.
And even like a year in, I think I know it a decent amount, but yeah, I don't know it all. I don't have all the right answers. You know, like my dad started doing this and he's got some sort of like a lactose to soy thing. So we actually had to switch him to the isogenics, the plant-based. Mm-hmm. And now he isn't feeling necessarily like that bloat after the fact. So that's part of what I think what you're talking about is the versatility to say, hey, we could still do this. We're just going to have to switch things up just a little bit and alter. And everyone's different. Mm-hmm. So I would say to anybody that was ever going to try this or do this, if the first 2 weeks of the standard catch-all, be-all like protocol wasn't really quite your thing, didn't quite feel the greatest, don't quit.
Yeah.
Like, make a call, reach out and say, this is what I have going on. This is how I felt. What do you think we should try different?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. I love that. It's really important. And I would hope that we do a good job painting that picture for people with the questions that are answered in the group, with, you know, all the professionals that are giving feedback, but really more importantly with the people that have been around for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 2 years. You know, they've been through that process. So I hope that that's the message that's coming out. And I mean, every time I go in there and look at stuff, there's amazing flexibility. There's people suggesting, you know, again, there's no right and wrong answer. This isn't about right and wrong, because there is no right and wrong. Everybody is so dang different. There's foundational pillars in place, which are very simple. It's quality daily protein is non-negotiable. It's properly hydrate yourself, because these are major issues. And every living human being can benefit from doing those two things. And then the third thing is move your ass, like movement, because you're a human and we're not made to live this sedentary lifestyle. And those are the foundational pillars, right, that we live by. And then from there, it's the exploration, the journey, the everything. And like you said, like, you didn't put on 100 pounds in a day, 6 months, not even a year. It took you a decade. And now you look at it, you know, I see people sometimes they're like, well, it's just going to take me so long. I mean, you've lost 70 pounds in 1 year. It took you 10 years to put on 100.
Yeah, it can happen. You just have to want to do it.
you got to want to do it, right? You got to have the right reasoning of
Yeah.
why.
And I think, and that's something we talked about a year ago, was you asked me the why question.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that again, actually. Like, let's get into that, because I think that's a big mistake that people make is, well, let's do this. Let me ask you this way. When you first started, what was the basic superficial why around it?
Well, the big one, I think, is, for me, it's still true to today. I have an amazing, at that time, she was 2. Now she is 3, almost 4. Everyone talks about dying for their kids. I do anything and I die for my kid. Well, yeah, I want to live for my kid. And that's still so true to this day that, you now having a 1-year-old and you realize how fast that goes by. And now Mia's almost 4 and how fast that's gone by.
Yeah.
I don't want to miss that stuff.
Yeah.
And so living for her is huge for me.
Yeah.
My wife had really bugged me for, I don't know, a year to 2 years before I started this about quit drinking soda. And mentally, I couldn't do it. There was like, there's no way I can do this. I like it so much. Like it was so refreshing to me to wake up in the morning and pop open a Pepsi. And that's how I started my day. And it was great. I loved it. And being able to give that up, that was huge. So October 1st, I did the whole pop a can of Mountain Dew and poured one out. And it's not like I had to put myself in a prison to where that stuff can't be around, right? I mean, there's, I think, a 12-pack of Pepsi and Sunkist in my fridge in my garage because, we have a pool and we have pool parties and people come over. So it's in my home.
Yeah. And in your office.
And down at my office, we have a huge customer fridge. There is a drink in there for everybody, from Red Bulls to sodas to protein shakes to you name it. It's in there. But I have no desire to drink them.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes my employees will come up to me and they'll be like, "Hey, boss, we're out of soda." Why would I know?
Right.
You think I even look at those? I have my own pull-out drawer in the center that's just these big, 1 liter, 2 liter bottles of water.
Yeah.
Like I have my own drawer and it's just these massive Costco bottles of water that I get.
Yeah.
And that's all I drink, and they're everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It's huge. I mean, it's a big thing. So let's do this. Let's get into, what have been the major differences? You talked about living for your daughter, and, obviously, your wife is in that equation as well. What's been the biggest change? Obviously we can look at the weight and go, 70 pounds and he's went down all these inches. And that's great. I mean, from a statistical standpoint, from a medical statistical standpoint, you're putting yourself optimally in just a much better place to live. I mean, your chance of chronic disease goes way down. Your chance of autoimmune disease just everything. Okay. But what have been a lot of the key non-scale victories? There's your little one now.
Yeah, you really wanted to say hi? Okay, say hi.
Say hi to everybody. Say hi. Hi.
You really like your dad? That's good.
Yeah, that is a good thing that you really like your dad.
Yep. Okay.
We really like your dad too. He's a really cool guy. You're pretty lucky to have such a cool dad.
And my dad tints.
Oh, your dad tints. Yeah, your dad's the tint guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I have this rainbow puppet here, and it pops because it's called a puppet. And
fantastic.
Squirrel side moment here. Okay,
I love it.
For a call, okay? Okay, bye.
Oh, my puppet.
Cutest thing ever.
Such is life. So we were just talking about.
I'm a dad. I got a 1-year-old. I got a almost 13-year-old. This is a big topic for me. One of my main missions, Dexter, is we always hear this stuff. I don't think I've ever shared this, but you always hear, I support women. I support women. I support women. I'm like, okay. I've struggled as a man for so long, right? I'm like, you know what? I'm going to support dads who just need to come back alive again and share with me, like, when I say that, like, what's been the major differences with even like your relationship, your confidence, the things that you've been able to do with your daughter now that maybe you couldn't do before? Are you willing to kind of go there?
Yeah, for sure.
Go ahead.
Just starting off with my daughter, I mean, obviously it's been a fun progression because, when I started this, she was 2, almost 3.
Mm-hmm.
She just, was walking, wasn't super like
Go. Yeah.
Right. So as my body changed and I was able to be more active and do more things, so was she. So it's been a fun growth together. I've been in my home for 11 years. And up until now, I probably only swam in my swimming pool maybe 2 or 3 times a year.
Wow.
I don't love it.
Yeah.
I grew up with a pool. We had it just because whatever. Yeah. But I wasn't comfortable being in there, right? Even in the comfort of my own home. It's just me. Like, I was like, I'm good. But this year I spent at least 1 to 2 nights and sometimes even more a week in the pool with my kid.
Wow.
Sometimes there for a while when it was super hot here, it felt like it was every night. We were jumping in, going in for 2 or 3 hours. So that's been really awesome.
What do you mean by really awesome? Like, what is like? Let's get a little deep. Like, I'm literally like I'm just gonna share. Like, like I want more. I just told you this before the call. Like, I earn for deep, strong men like you that are willing to share. Like, what does that really do for you? Like, I mean, you went from not even feeling comfortable for yourself. Like, I'm kind of like almost like thinking like from a dad standpoint, I'm like emotional because when I get to bear crawl around and chase my little guy, and I do think sometimes I'm like, man, people can't even tie their shoes without being out of breath, and right. I kind of take for granted, Dexter, honestly, what I'm able to do physically at this point. But like, what does that do for the psyche? I mean, for you to be able to spend that time and those memories, like, what's that done for you?
It's been huge. I didn't want to be that dad that, my daughter would have to grow up telling people like, yeah, we grew up with a pool and like, oh, did you have so much fun? Did you swim with your dad? Like, no, my dad couldn't get in the pool. My dad was bound to a wheelchair and on oxygen. Like, I didn't want to get to that point. So, I mean, that was a real fear of mine. Like, could potentially I ever be to the point where my daughter wants to do things and I can't? I don't ever want to have to be there. Speaking of what? Oh, you hurted your foot? Okay. Well, Dad's telling a story about you, so give me a second. So, backstory on this. So, my lovely wife is on a trip with her dad and brother.
Yeah.
Took her dad on a surprise trip to the Minnesota Vikings game. So, I am single dadding it for the and it's been fabulous. So that's what this slight distraction. She's like, what do I do? I'm just here by myself. I have no one else to bug or annoy. That's been cool. Like being able to have a 3-4 day weekend with my daughter and whatever she wants to do. Yeah. Like willing and able body to go do those things. I have to look at the sheet. I think this birthday party's at like a trampoline park. Yeah. Okay, a year ago, bud, I probably would have like hit some weight sign and they were like, yeah, sorry, can't be on the trampoline if you're over 300 pounds. Like that was a thing. I mean, I did the zip line in Vegas. Yeah. And that, no joke, has a weight limit of 300 pounds. And when I was saying like I was 305, that was like fresh in the morning and as dehydrated as possible at 305. Right. You take me midday after, a full day of eating and sodas and whatever, that scale had to have been 315 and fully closed, probably 320. Yeah. So going down to Vegas, we did the zipline thing. We saw the sign. And you want to talk about just like the ultimate, for me, like low. And that level of just like my whole family wanted to do this.
Yeah.
And just crush that. Like there's 4 of us and it's got 4 like zip line slides going down. And there's going to be an empty one because I made such poor choices. I couldn't even maintain a weight that was safe enough for a ride. Right. So luckily my wife talked me into it and she said, just whatever, we're just going to do it. And like, just lie and just say that you're right at 300 pounds. I was like, okay, fine. Like, we'll do it.
Yeah.
So you get up there, they get you all strapped into this harness thing, and then there's a scale at the top. Like, and we're talking not like the one that's in your bathroom. Like it's like a freight scale. Bro, I'm talking like this is like a 3x3 platform.
Right.
With like butcher big numbers, like
something like you see on like that show Extreme Weight Loss where they bring people up and measure them like cattle.
Like up and down. Yeah. That's what's at the top of this thing. And like they just kind of know they're watching people go by like you. They're like, dude, this doesn't, you guys doesn't weigh 200 pounds. You know, look like a lady, and she's clearly not over that. And I'm just like, maybe this dude's not going to notice me. I thought I carried it pretty well. And so I'm just walking by, trying not to make eye contact. He just looks at me and he goes, on the scale. Yeah, that sucked. And I stepped on it, and I don't know if it was broke that day or what, but it was like 299, and the guy just pushes me off. He goes, cool, that's good. Because he knew if it cracked over that, he couldn't let me go.
Right.
And so he let me go, and then we quickly figured out why there's a weight limit. I finished the zip line probably 20 seconds before everybody else and hit the end so fast I about broke out all my teeth.
Yeah.
We figured out why there was a weight limit. It wasn't because the cable couldn't hold me. It was because I was so heavy. The inertia of me going down, like I was hauling the mail, bud. There's people who don't make it to the end of that zip line.
Right.
Oh, I made it to the end and probably almost passed. So that was a big moment for me. Going like, if this continues, what else is going to be next that I won't be able to do? You know? So moments like that was stuff I didn't want to miss out on with my kids who are older. You know, we've got a 21 and 26-year-old. So what am I going to miss out on with them? And, you know, and then with my wife, you know, it was kind of like this, always this joke within our family that she was like a chubby chaser. And I'm sure that's like anything, like just getting fat jokes all the time.
Yeah.
You learn to laugh at it and just shrug it off. But what else do you do, right? Like you can't, I mean, in that moment, over time, sure. But in that moment, you can't change it. If someone says, you know, Jesse, I don't like your hat, you look like a clown. Well, you can immediately fix that. You can change that.
Right.
Someone just is making fat jokes. You're stuck in that moment. There's nothing immediately that you can do. I can't just rip off 100 pounds.
Right.
You know? So that humility that just constantly kind of goes along with that. And, you know, my wife took a good blunt of those jokes. And that sucked. That sucked for her. I had some guys that I don't even know if I want to call them friends. We were hanging out there for a while. They made this deal on Facebook, and it kind of went around like through like Snapchat all the way through Facebook, and there was the hashtag like doing the Dexter, and I'm sure you could probably still find it. And it was people sitting out, and they would stick their stomach out and bloat it out as far as they could to have like this big pot belly. And that was a thing, like, and that went around. And sure, and it seemed funny, but at the end of the day, you look back and you're like, yeah, dude, that sucked. That really sucked.
Yeah. I mean, it's crushing. It's demoralizing. We can, you know, like you said, I think there's so many people. First off, thank you for being so vulnerable. Yeah. It just shows your character and strength, which is why I like you even more as a human being every time we get to chat. This is the depth that I think, you know, so many people run from. And it's reality. It's, this is why I say like the focus really has to be off of fat loss. You know what I mean? It has to be away from diet. I mean, we're not doing any good to ourselves, to our loved ones, to our why. If that's our focus, right? The focus is just what's the benefit of, we always talk about what can we not have? We can't, people say, I can't have a cookie. I can't have a soda. I'm like, no, you can. I was like, but what else are you missing? You know what I mean? Like what other parts of life? And I mean, what you just talked about, I think is going to resonate and strike a chord with so many people. I mean, I have so many emotions, like just thinking, because I didn't experience it as an adult, Dexter. Mine was as a kid, which is like a whole different, thing that messed with my mind. And I grew up the fat kid and was the one always made fun of. And it ripped me apart, dude. Like it, you know what I mean? Like I would joke all the time and I'd be like, and I like, you would literally get to a point where it's like, you made your own fat jokes because you like wanted to be the funny person. That was like the way to hide it. You know what I mean? Or take a little bit of the brunt off. But man, it messed with me for so long.
Yeah. I mean, I would do like eating challenges, like inadvertently, like going out somewhere and should I finish my plate, your plate, and your buddy's plate?
Yeah.
And like, oh my God, you can pound down so much food. Like, how cool is that?
Right.
Well, it was the way I justified it being like the size I was.
Right.
Like,
it was your way to fit in. Like everybody wants to fit in. We all want to feel a part of something.
Right.
It's a human instinct. I mean.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. So I think what else comes up for me is, I asked you real quick why you started in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think, the question of, how many times, whether it's business or personal or whatever, it's like people say, you got to find your why. You got to find your why. You got to find your why. And I'll be honest, dude, I didn't even know what the fuck my why was I didn't even know what my why was for so long. And it used to like confuse me and aggravate me, and then sometimes I would think like, for instance, if it was business, it was like, well, my why is I want more money. And they're like, well, you got to get deeper and you got to get that. And I'm like, here's what I want to share with people about weight specifically. If it's that at first, let it be that. Just be okay with letting it be that. But also make sure that you don't miss out on the other piece, which is the consistent part, the commitment to yourself. Because along that journey, and I think you'll agree, as you continue to move forward, that why will naturally deepen and it will naturally start to show itself, right? Like for me, like your why, Dexter, one, I know you're very determined. I know you're a very committed guy. Put all that to the side for a second. When you start to see the impact that putting you first and putting health first can do, where you get to have more memories in the pool, you get to go on the zip line, you get to go on the amusement park ride, right? The roller coaster, the whatever. You get to crawl around on the floor with your kids. You get to wake up and just be ready to go when those little suckers wake up and they're ready to go. And you don't need, an hour and a half of wasted time just to feel right, just to feel like you can do a little bit, not even like the full thing. It will come to you. Like it will start to come to you. And when you can cement a why like yours, where it's, better relationships with your significant other, it's being a better parent because of all the things and so many more that you mentioned, that you didn't even mention, but so much more. I think once you get to that point, it's, the sky's the limit, right? Like, it's like when you have that as your central focus, like who cares about a bad day? Who cares about a so-called oopsie anymore? Who like all that shit's irrelevant at that point in time, right? Like it doesn't.
And it's funny that you bring up the sky's the limit. I mean, so in the last year, we were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not learn to fly an airplane? Okay. Having been the size I was, the trainer plane that, I started flying to get my license, that would have been a problem. There's a weight limit. And I didn't even think about that until almost just now.
Interesting.
So
if people don't know, Dexter, being as ambitious as he is, in 2 weeks period of time, 2 weeks, literally 2 weeks, went from 0 to pilot in 2 weeks time, to show the kind of commitment and dedication that this man puts into something that he wants to do. And I didn't think of that either, bro. But you that might not even have been a realistic goal, because you couldn't have fit in the airplane. It might
there's no way at my old size that would have been a very difficult task. Like, it would have been so uncomfortable to do it. I mean, you and the instructor, I mean, it's kind of close.
Yeah.
But it would have been like really bad had I been any larger. Flight controls would have been more difficult. Doing maneuvers in the plane would have been more difficult. Even pre-check on the airplane, having to crawl underneath and check landing gear and, fuselage, and checking fuel tanks for contaminations, like that all would have been more difficult. So when you're saying like sky's the limit, like, I don't even know if I would have passed my medical exam.
Interesting.
I mean, the FAA has a pretty decent medical exam that you have to pass to be a pilot.
Yeah.
I don't think I could have passed that.
Wow.
So it does go deeper. And when you talk about, what's the why reason now? I brought up earlier, I had to go, basically I felt like I had to have an energy drink to wake up to start my day at 9 a.m. back. When I was in pilot school and flight training, I was up at 3:30, 4 a.m, and I grabbed a 2-liter bottle of water and out the door I went.
Yeah.
And to go fly an airplane.
Yeah.
Like, just awake and alert and ready, and would have a protein shake when I got done, and felt great. Could I have done that before? That's that mind over matter thing. But in the state I was in, no, I would have had to have a soda or some sort of energy drink to even remotely accomplish that. There's no way I thought I could have gotten up to do it.
Yeah. At that point in time too, and we're not going to dive into this piece of it, but there's actually a lot of truth and science behind what you're saying. I mean, when you get your body to one point in time, like you were reliant on that external glucose consumption to actually make your body function. Like that literally was your gas at that point in time, to where now you've shifted your body into allowing its own processes to do what the body's supposed to do. And people don't even realize, like, we actually have zero use for external glucose consumption. Our body will actually produce its own as much as it needs on a daily basis. So, I mean, there's a lot to that too. So I hope people are understanding. I mean, we haven't talked about food. We haven't really talked much about weight. Like, this is really what I wanted to share with people. I want to share the depth. We use that word. We talk about empowerment. We talk about giving the power back to the people. I hope with this conversation with Dexter, you guys are starting to understand, like, this is so much more than a stupid number on the scale. This is so much more than what the industry tries to sell you when it comes to weight loss and health. And I'm so fed up with the industry. Like, I'm so fed up with it, which is why I give all the stuff for nothing. Like, I mean,
right.
Why
is there not a program that's out there that says, hey, I mean, we can all agree that, like, the mental health issue in this country is a big deal. It's a really big deal. Why isn't there somebody pushing a program that says change your mental health in 1 year?
Yeah.
Like 100% transformation of who you are if you feel like you're in a bad spot and you want to get back to that old you. Like, that's really what it is. I mean, it's a mental health transformation. It's not even a number on a scale. It's not the number in my pants. It's not the size of my t-shirt. It's legit a mental health transformation. I feel more willing and I feel more willing and able to do things I would have never done because of this. There was a lot of no's back then, like mental no's. Like, do you think you could fly an airplane? No, I'm too big. Do you think you could go do this? No, there's no way. When I started this, the whole thing was I had bought a Corvette, and a buddy of mine had asked me, how are you even going to fit into it? Well, now I don't even think about it.
Right.
I cram myself into a small airplane instead now. Like, let's try and fit into that. So, yeah, I mean, it's, I guess, to really answer your question, like, what's the reason now? It's my mental health. And it's something I probably haven't even given any thought to or been willing to admit till now. But I guess, yeah, once you really sit there and think about it, what's the reason why? Mental health.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a huge piece. I mean, I know I've tried to preach before. It's like, yeah, we'll start off with weight. We'll start off with health. I was like, but I think what you're going to realize if you stick around long enough, this just goes so much more than that. And I think mental health is part of the bigger picture of health. You know what I mean? It's that big picture. And it's like, when you look at it and frame it like we're talking, it's drastic.
But and here's why I would really want to say that I think mental health, your position on it drastically is a correlation between then your physical health and your eating habits.
For sure.
If your mental health is in the right place,
for sure,
you're willing and able to make the right food choices and consumption choices. If you're in a bad spot, you're most likely going to make bad comfort food type choices. That is seen time and time again. There's so many studies and cases on it. There's a TV show about 600-Pound Life. Like, those people are chronic, comfort food eaters because their mental health sucks.
Right. Yeah. Because they don't even believe they're necessarily worth it. Right. They don't believe they're worth. I mean, it really starts to, when you're guys, unless you've experienced it, which sadly there's, 88% of people are metabolically unhealthy. So I feel like there's so much more that's just not talked about. Right. Because it's this stigma and the status quo. This conversation we're having right now is not a normal conversation that you hear out there every single day, but it's so important to start to realize that, like, saying yes to yourself and cleaning up your nutrition is the catalyst to loving yourself more, which is then the catalyst to anything else, right? Whether it's business, running a better business, being a better employee, being a better boss, being a better dad, being a better lover, being a better spouse. Like, it's the catalyst to everything else. And it all starts with that initial decision. I think kind of sums it up. Yeah. Is that what we're trying to get at?
I think that's it. And when you look at ER shred, what does it stand for? Eliminate and reset. That's really what it is. Like, I eliminated a lot of the toxicity in my own life. Food choices to just mental thoughts and everything down the line.
Even bad lifestyle choices. Like, I would consider not being able to enjoy the fruits of your labor, of your pool, or being in there with your kid. Like even though, like, those kind of things too are including, right?
Yeah. And then, so you eliminate that stuff and you're able to reset. Legitimately reset and have a chance. If you're willing to put in the work, you can have a chance at a restart.
Yeah.
At a fresh start. And circling way back to the beginning on why people choose other diets that don't work. Well, they never got that restart because they didn't put in the work. They didn't get far enough in to see the benefits of a restart to going like, this is really what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
They just didn't get there. And that's why they failed. That's why it didn't work.
Yeah.
That's why you get so much criticism at times, even from my own family. We just can't wait to see how this works out. Give it a year. You'll put on all that weight and then some. Because historically, yes, that's what happens. And I'm not saying, like, throughout the year, have I fallen off the wagon at times and gone 2-3 weeks of just living? middle of summer, doing whatever, still staying away from the core things that I know I don't want to do, the sodas and the energy drinks. That's always been a negative. That's a big, hard no. But family orders in pizza, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. But then you get back to that point of, okay, I'm sliding down that slippery slope. Cool. Let's just do a quick reset. Let's just jump right back in. That's really where I'm at is now. I feel like I'm so far in. You just kind of bounce back and forth out of being 100%, let's say, on the program to going 2-3 days of just living. And for me right now, that's my balance. That's where I'm at. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I love that, dude. I love that so much. It genuinely makes me happy for you. Like I live the same way. Like what you just described is literally how, like, people have this weird impression of the way that they think I live. Because
there's a lot of us, I think you and Sean, all you guys do is have protein shakes, raw eggs, and a stick of butter in your mouth every second you can, and meat. Like those are like the 4 or 5 things that's all you guys do, and you eat, sleep, and breathe it, which is awesome. That's the perception. But it would almost just be funny to have like you and Sean, like a photo of you guys just knocking back at Domino's Pizza with some ice cream. Like people like, is this a joke? Like they don't do that. Like Sean and Jesse, they haven't seen a carb since 2006 type thing, you know?
Yeah. Little do they know, I just ate a half a cup of white rice last night.
But you know what I mean? Like that's the stuff that isn't seen, that isn't talked about.
I know.
Yeah.
You're right. It's not.
What's ER Shred's sponsored pizza company? Is there a cauliflower based dough out there that, like, hey, if you want to do it and you want to make your own pizza at home, here you go.
Yeah. It's funny you brought that up, Dexter, because what I've come to learn over the whole course, and again, I've been really down the rabbit hole of extreme. So I will share that with people. I was in the bodybuilding world. I mean, that is one of the most toxic, extreme food craziness things that I've ever taken part of. Now that I actually think back about it and like what I know today to what I knew then, it is not the healthiest way to live. You might look good. You might look what people perceive health to be, but let me tell you something, dude. Oh my God. And I think now it's not that I don't have the things that I love. It's more so that I've learned, I guess, what serves me best. You know what I mean? So like, pizza, for instance, right? Like, will I have a slice of pizza from a pizza shop or whatever the case may be? Without a question in my mind. You know what I mean? Like if I'm in New York and I want to have some brick oven pizza, which is not, I'll have that pizza. But if I want to have it at home, I still get to enjoy what I want. 1, it's controlled. 2, it's planned. 3, I control everything that goes on it. You know what I mean? So it's what crust am I using? What sauce am I using? What quality vegetables? What quality meats? That's not taken into consideration, obviously, sourcing somewhere else, right?
Right.
So I get to enjoy those things. Like I don't feel like I'm starving or depriving and I used to feel like that all the time back in bodybuilding days because it is that. It's depriving, it's starvation, it's no water for so much time. It's all of this stuff, and I don't do any of that these days. The foundational concept, the foundational pieces are just non-negotiable in my brain. So like those come first and then everything else is just kind of filling the holes. I mean, filling the holes to the day. It splashes here, it's put my sprinkles on it the way that I want.
Yep.
For sure.
I mean, you want to talk about one of the most awkward moments of ER Shred for me was I was probably 3 months in, and I was drinking more water than I'd ever drank in my life on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So those like 33-ounce water bottles that I drink, I had counted 7 of them on the floor of my pickup as I was driving like 9 hours across the country. And I was like, isn't there a thing like you can drink too much water? And so I know Joe Googled it, and there was an individual who died from drinking too much water. We'll come to find out they drink an absorbent amount, like gallons in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I'm not that bad. I mean, I'm drinking, I think at that point it was 180 to 200 ounces a day, but that was over the course of, 12 hours.
Right.
But it kind of hit me as just like a funny aha moment. Like, this is what I'm concerned about in life right now is, can I drink too much water? Is that a thing?
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite it's funny to put that in contrast of, can I drink too much water versus can I do this epic thing, this epic memory creator with my family? There's a great example of some mental health caring right there, right? I mean, if the water is the one thing that you're worrying about.
Yeah, that was a legit issue. I was freaked out about it. I was just coming into Washington. I was headed over to Spokane. I can remember pretty much exactly where I was, where I was like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Can I drink too much water? Like, am I really at risk here? Because I'm taking this way too far, I feel like. Because I never drank that much water in my life. I think the amount of water I drank that day was more than I would drink in an average month. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yep.
Crazy. Dude. All right, man. Listen, I want to respect your time. This is awesome. I can't thank you enough. Seriously, I appreciate you showing up at 100% and being open and vulnerable. I really respect the hell out of you for that. Like, more so than I can even ever express in words. I really, really respect that from you. I hope people can pull the big pictures, the value. Matter of fact, guys, if you're watching, please drop into the comments. What did you take from this? And remember, I'm going to remind you again, Dexter's story is Dexter's story. And it doesn't have to exactly relate. Like, people will be like, oh, well, that's great because he blah, 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 blah. No. You're looking at this wrong. Like, look at what he shared. Look at the tips, the values, the mindset, the pieces, and say, okay, how can I take that and just kind of put that into my life? How can I make that work? And if it can, great. And if it can't, okay, great. That's cool too. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? It's not that, but drop in, let us know. I'm curious. I know Dexter's probably curious. What is it that you pulled from it? What things maybe were aha moments for you? And if you do know somebody who's struggling, who's looking for the bigger mindset, the piece, please remember that sharing is caring. Tag them in the comments below so they can actually see this. This will be put up on our YouTube channel. It will be live in our group, or not live, but it will be in our group forever. It will be on my page forever that you can come back to. Is there anything else, Dexter, for maybe it's somebody who's just starting, maybe it's somebody who's 2-3 months in, they've hit what they consider to be a setback, right? They've kind of went off a little bit. Maybe it's somebody who's just looking, they're like, man, is this something I really want to do? I failed so many times before. What would you share with those people? What would you say to those people?
Yeah, I'd say it's completely fine to fall off the tracks, to, get sideways. It's just dig deep, get yourself back on track. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
And, obviously I'll be tagged in this deal. People, do you want to reach out? You get a hold of Jesse and gives you my phone number. Call, ask questions. Don't be afraid. And whether it's just something with ER Shred, or if there's something I've brought up that you've dealt with personally and you're just like, I just need some perspective, and someone wants just to have a conversation like this.
Yeah.
To vent or talk, and how did you get through this? Because we went through a similar thing. Like, reach out. That's huge. Just being able to accept the fact that you can be vulnerable, and this is on you at your time, at your pace.
I think that's one of the coolest parts about the ER Shred community, in my opinion, right? It's when we say we welcome all, no matter where you're at in life,
right?
We truly do welcome you, and if you're willing to embrace and you're willing to do the work and you're willing to, keep putting you first, like, all I can tell you is really, really good things will come, and we will be there to cheerlead for you. We'll be there to pick you up when you fall down. We'll be there to celebrate your victories with you.
Yeah. There's no judgment. Like, if you call me and you're like, I'm 5 pieces into my pizza and I've ate 2 tubs of ice cream. Okay, what kind of pizza did you have? How was the ice cream?
Right.
Great. So what you're going to want to do is now make a shake, put it in the fridge, and we're going to start there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But we're going to just figure this out. Like, there's no judgment. There's no, like, well, sorry, you're too far gone. We can't help. Right. Like, no. Like, I don't care if you've tried this 10 times and failed. The 11th time, hopefully we get it right and we'll do something different to where you can succeed.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, and there's a lot to even unpack in that statement that we're not going to get into tonight, but it's so true. So, all right, brother, I appreciate you. Go have fun with your daughter. Go jump on the trampoline. Go make memories.
Yes, sir.
All that amazing fun stuff. We'll catch up for sure. Guys, we appreciate your time. Again, drop into the comments. Let us know what you pulled from this. Smash the share button. Get this out to as many people as possible. Tag them. Re-listen to it again. Whatever it is you got to do. And for God's sake, if you're not part of the ER Shred community, www.ershredders.com. It is free. It is free. So if you're not there, I don't know. I don't know how to help you. I don't know what to do for you. So we appreciate you. We love you. Have an awesome night. Dexter, thanks again. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks.